Welcome to the first tutorial for AutoCAD Civil 3D 2011. And we're going to talk about just the workspace and get familiar with all the different menus and what there is. I'm just going to open the software now. This first little pop-up is just a warning that it's an educational product. Just hit continue. It'll do that a lot. Also, when you open your software for the first time, you should get a window that pops up talking about the Getting Started guide. At the bottom of that window, there's a checkbox that you can mark to tell it not to open up anymore, and that's what I've done. We're going to talk about the first menu over here on the top left. This is the application menu. It should look pretty familiar. Most of these are common commands for software. This top one up here along the top left is a quick access toolbar. It automatically has new, open, save, plot, undo, and redo, but you can modify and customize this quick menu however you want and add more commands or take some off. Over here is the info center. It's kind of neat if you want to look up something about a line. You just type it in, hit search, and it comes up with a long list of things that you might want to know about. And then you have your more traditional help center here. This is the ribbon all along the top. You should be familiar with this if you've used any new software in the past year or two. Microsoft has gone to this ribbon style of menus. If not, good luck learning with me. I'm not very familiar with it, but we'll get there. First, this along the top, these are called tabs, and they have commands that are grouped together, just like you would in a file. Any kind of commands that have to do with modifying. On the home, there's different panels that have them broken down even more into groups of commands. Anytime there's this little arrow, that means there's more commands to see. So on points, you have more commands that you can deal with points. Modify, there are more. And if you'll notice that as I hover over a command, it'll tell what it is, and then if you stay there, it'll expand a little larger and explain it a little more. You can turn this off in the settings, in the options box if you want. And I'll show you how to do that another time. But I think it's kind of handy when you're first learning how to use the software to kind of have that access right there. Over here, this is a more traditional toolbar with tools right on it with small buttons. This is your navigation bar, and just so you know, I turned mine off somehow earlier. So if you want to turn it off and turn it back on, this is where you do it. You can turn your view cube off, your nav bar off, or you can turn them back on. Let's see, over here, this is your tool space, and this is kind of a thing specific for Civil 3D. Every time you add an object to your drawing, then it is over here in tool space. So for example, if you click and expand this alignments tab, it'll show you the different alignments in your drawing. And we don't have anything in this drawing, so it's not showing anything. But if you have a pipe network, it'll show it in here. And then on this, that's the prospector tab, and over here on the settings tab, if you want to create a new parcel and you want to do it according to specified settings, this is where you change those settings. And there are parcel styles, and you double click on it, opens it up, information, design, display. This is where you create your layers. Talk about that in another tutorial. And let's see, down here is the command line. So you can create and draw and use commands from the ribbon, or over here on this toolbar, or you can do it from the command line if you start learning the word command. So I can draw a line by typing line and specify the first point, specify the second point, etc. And or to create a line, I could go to this menu here and say create line, and it'll do the same thing. So you'll pick your way of doing things. Everybody does it differently. And then you'll notice down here you kind of have the command line. It shows you all your previous commands. Sometimes that comes in handy. You need to know what happened. And then down here is the status bar, and there are lots of different settings that you can change down here. Some of the more common ones is ortho mode, meaning if you want to draw a line, it'll draw it directly north. Even if your cursor is a little to the right, you click, but it just did it directly north or west. So that's what ortho does. And a shortcut for that is F8. So F8 turns it off and on. Object snap. So back to our lines here. If you'll see, when I go to draw a line, I want to connect it to the end of the line I drew. That green box shows that I'm snapping to the end point of that line. You can right click it and tell what you want it to show up to snap to. So right now it's endpoint, center, intersection, extension. But if I turn midpoint on and I draw a line from here, it will show a triangle at the midpoint of that line, and I can snap to it. So it's really convenient. You can do perpendicular, intersection, the quadrant of a circle. These are going to become useful tools for you, and the more you use them, the more familiar you'll get with them. Another one, polar tracking. It's probably on when you start. So you can see when I get to east, it's telling me you're on a polar, and then it'll snap to that if you want it to. I turn mine off. Object snap tracking. Okay, dynamic input. Right now, as you've seen, I've been drawing, and you see all this stuff on the screen that shows me the geometry, and it has a little text box and the degree. If you want to turn that off, then you just click this little box, dynamic input, to turn it off. And now when I draw, I don't see all that stuff. I just see minimal stuff. So that's what I'm going to keep mine at. I don't like the dynamic input. And down here you can switch between model and paper space. You can change your annotation scale and other things. But for the most part, that is all there is to the workspace. And so we'll talk about some other things in the next tutorial.